What's up YouTube, and welcome to another draw along with me, where today we're going to go ahead and do this snowman design. Now this design is actually inspired by another design I did last year where we did a snowman design in the woods, and this is essentially a snowman from this winter looking back at the tombstone of the previous snowman from last year. So if you want to, you can complete the first part that's over on my YouTube channel. I'll leave a link in the description down below, and then you'll have this one to go along with it. Now, as always, there's links in the description down below to the requirements for everything you're going to need, the palette and any other brushes I may have used. If you're new here, I post Procreate content every single week here on my YouTube channel, but I also post 3 more exclusive tutorials every single month over on my Patreon for Patreon supporters. There's a link in the description again, so you can go ahead and check all that out. As always, I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Have a wonderful Christmas, and with all that said, let's get started. So once you have your canvas, the first thing we're going to do is set out our background. So we're going to go up to our palette and we're going to use these 2 colors here in the background. Now to start with, we're going to use this color here in the very bottom right of our palette and drag and drop it onto the empty layer for a moment. What we're then going to do is go up to our layers and create a new layer. We're going to go to our colors and we're going to grab this white here in the middle of the first column. We're going to go to our brush library, and under airbrushing, we're going to use the soft brush. Now we're going to make the soft brush a good size. We need to fill out the bottom area, so roughly around about sort of 18 to 20% will do the trick. And roughly 2/5 up from the bottom, we're going to go from left to right. And then as we sort of get to that point, just let that sort of very nicely just blend out a little bit like so. A little bit more like this. And there we go, we've got our nice little snowy scene at the bottom. Then what we can do is go back to our layers and go back to our background layer, so the blue. We're going to go to our colors and grab the lighter blue just beside it. So it's the second color in that bottom right corner. We're going to make the brush size a little bit bigger again, about sort of 25%. And we're going to sort of graduate the color. So we're going to go from this lighter blue and let our pressure get really light as we blend it up into the darker blue in the background there. Then what we're going to do is start drawing in our main shapes. So we're going to go up to our layers and create a new layer right at the top. We're going to go to our colors and we're going to go ahead and grab this color here in the top left of the palette. And then we're going to go to our brush library. We're going to go to calligraphy and the monoline brush. And if we tap on the monoline brush, we're going to make our stabilization and streamline a little bit less, so we can just try and get some little lines in here so we can create some nice little bumps and lumps. We don't want a perfect circle. We want to try and create a nice snowy ball for our snowman. So the first one, of course, is going to sit here in this sort of space here. So we're going to draw in a circle, nice and loose. We don't want to actually hold our pen down or anything. We don't want a perfect circle. And then drag and drop the colour in. You'll be able to get an idea for the scale of that one, and that one looks pretty good. I'm going to grab my cursor for a second and grab the uniform option just to move it just a little bit over towards the right hand side. And then tap on my cursor when I'm done. Now the only thing I'm going to adjust, and just in case you've done the same with yours, is I'm going to go to my eraser. Tap on the eraser and go to calligraphy and then the monoline brush as always. And we're going to go ahead and just chop off the bottom here just a little bit. So just sort of bounce into the bottom of the snowball a little bit. That will look like it rests on the snow rather than sort of a round object just floating. Then we're going to go to our layers again and we're going to create another new layer. We're going to go to our brush again and we're going to draw a slightly smaller ball on top of our snowman here. So we're going to go ahead and draw in a slightly smaller circle again, trying not to make it too perfect. And if you make it a little bit too big, it's okay. Drag and drop your color in, grab your cursor, use the uniform option and just scale that down in size a little bit. And if you hit that blue line, it lets you know you're nice and central to the actual ball underneath. So that will keep everything nice and organized. Tap on your cursor when you're done. Again, just use your eraser if you need to, and just sort of refine any shapes. I just want this to be a little bit less pointy at the top, so I'm going to round that off. And I can't see at the bottom there, so we'll leave that for a moment. We're then going to go to our layers again and create one more. So we'll create a new layer, go to your brush, and again draw in your final circle at the top. So not too perfect, you want to kind of give it some nice character, and drag and drop your colour in. And then again, grab your cursor. I'm going to put it on that blue line just to let me know I'm running straight down the middle of our snowman. Maybe even uniform that and make it a little bit smaller. Just a little bit more like this. And tap on my cursor when I'm done. Let's go ahead and add the hat onto the top. So we're going to go to our layers again and create another new layer. We're going to create all of the sort of base shapes to start with. So we'll go to our colors. We're going to go ahead and grab this color up here. So it's the third color from the right hand side on the top row. And this is going to be for our hat. So we're going to go ahead and just sort of draw in an ellipse first of all, and we'll make this kind of perfect to start with. So I'm going to go ahead and just draw in an ellipse like so. Hold my pen down and then just scale that down in size. So it's just slightly wider, of course, than the head. So just a little bit, something a little bit like that. Drag and drop the color into that space. Maybe even grab my cursor, use the freeform option and just maybe flatten it down a little bit. And until we get something a bit more like this. And then we can tap on our cursor when we're done. And then we can draw in the top of the hat as well. So we can go ahead and draw in the top like so. And then drag and drop the color in. So now we've got a couple of other shapes to add in. So we're going to go to our layers again and create another new layer. I'm going to drag this though underneath all 4 of the 3 balls and the hat layer above. We're then going to go to our colors and grab this orange here in the top right of the palette. And then we're going to draw in the nose. So we want the nose to sort of point down towards the sort of tombstone which will be there, or something like that, and go all the way around. So you can drag and drop your color in. And then just take a look at it. It kind of gives the right perspective, so you could adjust potentially then the size if you want to. So use your cursor, maybe flatten it down a little bit, make it a little bit more pointy, and just adjust the angle until you're happy, until you get something like this. The next step is to add the arms. So we're going to go to our layers again. The arms, first of all, are going to sit above a lot of these layers. So we're going to go up to the top ball of the 3, create a new layer. We're going to go to our colors and grab this color here. It is the second color from the top right corner. And then we're going to go to our brush and we're going to go in calligraphy still, but we're going to go down to the bottom and we're going to use the script brush. Now the brush size is going to be set to 14%. And then from the side profile here of the snowman, we're going to draw in a line with a good amount of pressure and just draw that out like so. And then from there, we can go ahead and draw in another little sort of finger here. Make sure they're nice and rounded on the end. We don't want them too sharp. And then a little bit something like this. And again, just rounding that off on the end. Just meant to be like a little sort of twig. Then what we want to do is go to our eraser. Tap on the eraser and make sure we're set to calligraphy and the monoline brush. We're then going to go ahead and max that size out and just round off the end here, just so it looks like it runs into the actual body. Now with that arm done, we can then go up to our layers. We can swipe that layer to the left and duplicate it and drag one of them underneath down until it's on top of the nose there. Then grab your cursor and we're going to go ahead and we're going to flip it horizontally. We're going to flip it vertically and then we're going to move it over to the right hand side. So we can do something like this. We can even rotate it slightly and we can even use the uniform option just to scale it down a little bit as it is a little bit further away from us. Tap on your cursor when you're done and now your snowman has 2 little arms. Next, let's go ahead and draw in the tombstone as well. So we're going to go to our layers. We're going to go down to the white gradient that sits at the bottom. We're going to create a new layer. We're going to go ahead and go to our colors and we're going to go ahead and grab this gray here. It's the second color from the bottom left corner. So this second column, we're going to go to our selection tool. We're going to go to the rectangle option and we're going to make sure color fill is turned on by tapping it and it will turn blue. That then means what we draw on the screen will fill in with the color. So we're going to go ahead and draw in a sort of rectangle shape. Then we can grab our cursor. We can use the option of uniform first of all, just to move it up into position. And then we can use the distort option. And if we use the middle node here on the right, we can go ahead and just move that up a little bit so that it's at a slight slant. And then we can bring this top right node down a little bit. That should then give us the correct perspective for the tombstone. So you want to try and make your shape a little bit like this. Then tap on your cursor when you're done. What we're then going to go ahead and do is go to our eraser yet again. It's still set to the monoline brush. You can maybe make it a bit smaller if you wish. I'm going to drop mine down to 40%. And I'm just going to round off the corner. I'm going to get rid of that sharp point, round that corner off. And I'm going to round off this corner as well, just to make it a little bit softer. And there we go, we should have some nice rounded top edges. Now we want to make this look a little bit more 3D, so we're going to go to our layer, swipe it to the left and duplicate it. The bottom one out the 2. go to your color, go to the bottom left of the palette, and drag and drop that color onto the stone. Now you won't see any change to it, but the one underneath has now changed to that darker color. Meaning if we grab our cursor, we move it off to the left hand side like so, we can now see that color change. And if we tap on our cursor when we're done, you can see now we've got like a bit of a 3D edge. But these corners don't yet match up, so the only thing we're going to do is go back to our brush. We're going to go to calligraphy and the monoline brush. And all you need to do is just zoom in on these corners here and just draw in a little line that just connects the two of them together. You zoom out and then look at the bottom left corner, we can connect those together. You can even draw a straight line and hold your pen down if you want, and then fill in the gap. And that's all you need to do. You don't need to spend too much time on that one. Now we have our little stone in place, we can now start to add in the text that sits on top of it, and then we'll start to get into all the snowy nice effects. So we're going to go ahead and go to our layers yet again. We're going to go above the tombstone front edge, so this lighter grey. We're going to go to our colours and double tap in the top left hand corner to select white. We're going to go up to our actions and we're going to use the option of add, and we're going to add some text. Now we're first of all going to double tap on the text until it's all highlighted. We're going to go ahead and go to our font, and we're going to scroll in this list until we find this one here, Didot. Then we're going to tap on this keyboard icon here, and once our keyboard pops up, we're going to change the text. So we're going to put in Jack, and we're going to make sure this is all capitals, so we're going to change this to Jack, and then return, and we'll put Frost on a second line. And then what we'll do is grab our cursor, we will then move that into position on top of the stone, and we will first of all scale it down in size just a little bit. We'll put it in the middle, and we need to adjust the angle so it matches the stone. So we grab our distort option again, grab this middle node on the right and just angle it up towards that top right. You may want to just bring that top right node down just the tiniest bit, and there we go. Tap on your cursor when you're done and you've got the text on top. Now what we also need to do is add in the little extra line at the bottom. So yet again, we go up to our actions, add text, it will remember the font. We then want to go ahead and grab our keyboard, so double tap on the text again and tap on keyboard. And once your keyboard then shows, you'll either get the small one or the large one. We just want to add here last winter, so we're going to make it all capitals and we're going to call this last winter. Don't worry if it goes down onto another line, just grab this node on the right just to widen it up, and then grab your cursor, scale that down in size, and again we're going to try and just fit it into the stone, just a little bit something like this. And then again we're going to grab our distort option, grab the node on the middle of the right hand side and just go ahead and move that up. So if you grab the top right, it will do that, so you want to definitely make sure you grab the middle one so you can angle it a bit more like this. And then once we have it into position, a little something like that, we've got all the text we need in order to start adding in some nice textures. So let's go ahead and first of all go to our layers and pinch the last winter and Jack layer onto the same layer. So we've pinched them onto one. Then what we'll do is we'll leave this for a second and we'll come back to it. The layer underneath is the front of the stone. We're going to go ahead and create a new layer. We're going to tap on that layer and clipping mask it to the front of the stone. We're going to go to our brush library. We're going to go to textures, and we're going to use this one here, the rectangle, and then the brush size is set to 7%. And all we want to do is just give this stone a nice cover over, and to me this looks great. It looks like it's literally frosty, so just give it a nice coating all over. Then what we want to do is to make this text look a little bit more embossed, we're going to go to our layers. We can first of all pinch that layer down that we just drew if you want to save yourself some layers. So pinch the layer that's clipped to the front of the stone. Then the text, we're going to go ahead and change the layer effect from normal. We're going to scroll down until we go to soft light. We're actually going to go ahead and swipe that to the left and duplicate it. And then we're going to go ahead and grab the bottom one again and swipe that to the left and duplicate it. Now you should have 3 of them, and we want to grab the bottom one out of all 3 of the Jack layers. Tap on it and use the option of invert, so this is now black. We then want to grab our cursor, and then what we want to do is tap a couple of times in this top left corner. So if we tap, it will nudge it every single time a pixel. So we go 1, 2, 3, and that should do the trick. That should just give our text a little bit of a sort of 3D look to it. Tap on your cursor when you're done, That should just be enough for it to just sit on top of the stone without too much sort of blending into the background. So let's go ahead and start now adding in some snow that's going to sit around there. So if we take a look at our layers, we can actually pinch all 5 of the stone layers together. So we can pinch all 5, so that's the jack layers, the side profile and the front profile onto one layer. That will save on your layer count. We're then going to go ahead and create a new layer above that. We're going to go to our colors. We're going to go ahead and grab the second color on the top row. We're going to go to our brush library and we're going to use under charcoals the willow charcoal brush. Now the size to start with, we're going to set that to about sort of 4%, I think. And then over here on the left, we're going to start to just draw in a mound of sort of snow. So a mound just here sitting in front of the stone. We want to basically get rid of this sharp line here at the bottom. So don't be afraid to go up, right up towards the stone, a little bit higher into it. And then over here on the right, we'll just bumpy, lumpy it until we cover up that whole edge. Until you end up with a little something like this. So we've got a nice base color of blue. And then what we can do is go to our colors. We can grab then this color here, the top left color. Reduce the brush size down to 3% this time. And on top of that, just draw in some nice lighter tones. So we're going to try and leave a little bit of the color underneath, which will just give us nice shadows along with nice highlights. And then just get rid of the bottom edge, just filling that in. And you should leave like little bits of this original color in there. That will just give us shadows alongside the nice beautiful white snow. And then you'll spot it's just ever so slightly a different color. So we're going to go back to our colors and grab this color here. It's pretty much, well, it is white. This color here in the middle of the first column. And towards the bottom edge, just start to blend that back out into the rest of the design. So you can also run it on top of that snow again. You can add some nice different variations in color like so, and I might even just mound that up on the left edge just so it's got a nice little bright highlight there. So that's making it look like it nicely sits in the ground. What we're also then going to do is just add some snow to the top. So let's go back to our colors again and grab this color here, this second color on that top row. And then on the top of the stone with the brush, probably a bit smaller, about 2% now, just add in some snow. Bumps and lumps, maybe reduce your brush size down to a smaller 2% because there's different sizes of 2%. Maybe just add in a little bit of frost coming down the side almost, a little something hanging on. And you can nicely mound up the snow, create some nice piles. They don't need to be a straight line. So just mound them up like so. This is our base color again, so we're going to go ahead and add in the other colors. So once you've added in a little something like this, we can then go back to our colors. We're going to go ahead and grab the top left color of the palette and start to add that on top. Again, trying to leave in a little bit of the base color. So I'm just literally squiggling my pen all over that little sort of area that we just created. A little something like this. Just giving it a good coat over. Just trying to blend that round on the right there. And then I'm going to go to my colors again. I'm going to grab the white in the middle of the first column. I'm actually going to make the brush size even smaller, a large 1% now, and just brush in little odd bits of white on top there. So you end up with sort of 3 tones, and that's always great to do. You'll end up sort of creating a better look, a nice collection of colours. And there we go, we've got some nice little snow on top of the stone. So now we've got some snow over here. I think it's about time we add in some colour and texture to our snowman. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our colours. We're going to grab the second colour on the top row. Our brush needs to be a bigger size, so around about sort of, let's go to about 14%. We're going to go back to our layers, and we've got the bottom ball out with the 3 there. We're going to create a new layer above it and tap on that layer and clipping mask it. And then with that layer, we're going to go ahead and darken up the bottom left edge. So I'm going round in a C shape. This is the blue that's going to blend into our base colour, which can roll around a tiny bit. The light source is up here in the top right corner. And then underneath the ball above, we also need to add in a shadow as well. So that then looks like it sits on top of that object. And we can bring the blue round a little bit more, leaving pretty much this area here as the original base colour. So let's really go ahead and block that in the bottom left edge. So we've got some more colours to go through now. So we're going to go up to our colours and we're going to grab this colour here. It is the third colour on that top row. And we're going to go round this left edge again, except now we go up to just the limit of where the blue colour was that we just added. So we go round the bottom left edge, definitely round the bottom side as well, and we then blend up into the blue. So that way we get a nice transition of colours. And again, just underneath our snowman, we're going to go ahead and just darken up the underneath the ball above. So it's got a nice little shadow there. We're then going to go to our colours and we're going to grab the darker purple just beside it. So the fourth colour on that top row. Let's darken up underneath the ball above again. So just adding in a nice strong shadow there. And likewise, we'll go around the bottom left edge, just darkening that up a little bit more. But that's looking a bit too colourful. So what we do is we go back to our base colour, the first colour on that top row. Reduce the brush size probably down a little bit to about sort of 7 or 8%, and just go around the left edge, very left hand edge, and introduce a little bit more white. So it's kind of where the light's rebounding around from the ground underneath, all the snow in the air potentially, it's just bouncing around, and blend that into that purple. That will get rid of a bit of that harshness of the purple and also give your snowball a bit more of a rounded look to it. And then what you can also do is brighten up this edge here if you really want to, if you've added in a little bit too much of the blue. You should end up with a little something like this. Now what you want to do is repeat those steps for the ones above. So you can go up to your layers, and go up to the next ball above, create a new layer, tap on that layer and clipping mask it. We go to our colours and grab the second colour on the top row. Let's make our brush size a bit bigger again, maybe about 12%. And we go round the bottom left edge, creating a nice C shape. Round that bottom left edge, underneath the ball above as well. Just rounding that off a little bit under there, giving a nice little shadow. And I'm going to just push that round just a bit more. So we've got a nice light patch just up here. Go back to my colours and grab the third colour on that top row. And again, go round that bottom left edge again, up to the limit of the blue, underneath the head above. And then go to our colours and grab the darker purple, the fourth colour on that top row. Go right round that bottom left edge, blending that round. Again, we'll get rid of that harshness a little bit more in a second, and underneath the ball above. And little shadow there. Then we go back to our colours and we grab the base colour, the top left colour in the palette. Reduce the brush size down to about sort of 6 or 7% and go round the very left edge. Round that very left edge, going round underneath as well. Making it look nice and round, nice and light, and just get rid of that a tiny bit. So that way we should end up with a nice rounded shape like so. So now we have the middle ball done, we can move up to the top one here. So we're going to go up to our layers. Once we get to the top ball out the three, again we create a new layer, tap on that layer and clipping mask it. Then go to your colours, and we're going to go ahead and grab the second colour on the top row, the dark blue, and repeat the same steps. The only difference is now we have a hat, so we have to just go underneath the bottom of the hat a little bit like so, and over towards the left, again light source coming from the top right. And then we go round, again creating a C shape. So round that bottom left edge, leaving a lighter area towards the top right corner. I'm going to block in that colour a little bit more. Round that off. And just underneath the hat, just make sure there is a little bit of a shadow there. Then go back to your colours and grab the third colour on that top row. Underneath the hat again, introducing this nice little purple colour, definitely over towards the left, where we then go around the edge again, blending into the blue and round. I'm going to go ahead and just bring that colour in a little bit more, and then switch it out to the darker purple, the fourth colour on that top row. Go underneath the hat, giving in a nice little shadow underneath there, definitely over here towards the left, and go round the bottom left edge, making your snowman a little more 3D. And again, we repeat the same steps we did before. So we go back to our base colour, top left of the palette. Reduce the size down, let's go down to about 3%, and going to go round the bottom edge, right close to the edge, just rounding that off a little bit more. And then we maybe want to move that round a bit towards that right hand side. And then again, just brighten up this area if you need to on top, just to sort of blend that out. And likewise, you can always give everything a light coat if it's a little bit too sort of colourful, maybe a little bit too purple. But you should end up with something like this. The next step then is to go ahead and work on the hat. So we'll go up to our layers and go to the hat. Now for the hat, I'm just going to tap on it and I'm going to alpha lock it. I'm going to go to my colours. I'm going to first of all grab black in the bottom left of the palette. Same brush again, we're just going to add in some shadows this time. So this bit here on the top of the hat, on the left hand edge, we're just going to blend that round towards the right. Just making sure that left hand side is a little bit darker. We're then going to go ahead and maybe reduce the brush size down to about 3 or 2% and just try to sort of give the illusion. So we're going to have to bring this down a little bit more. We're then going to have to try and give the illusion that this rounds like so. So we're going to come around this edge. So I'm going all the way around, getting really dark towards that left hand edge and then blend that round like so. So it's a little bit harsh for a minute, but we're going to add in, of course, other colours on top. There we go. So a little bit of darkness like so. And then also bring this round as well. So just the base of that top area. So you should end up with a shape like so. So you've got something that definitely resembles the top of a hat. What you can then do is go to the top of the hat as well and just add in a little bit of darkness at the top where there's like a little groove in the top. Then go to your colours. Let's grab the top left colour of the palette. And let's then blend in some nice light tone from the right hand side. Blending that round into the left. So blending that into the hat. Let's go right over here on that right hand side. Again, we need to bring this light edge down again. So just bring that down, blend it around, and then go round this right hand side. We're going to go round the edge, lightening that up and just move that light all the way around the left. That's going to almost give us the impression that there's a little bit of snow on here. And likewise, we can also give the left hand side just the tiniest little coat. Make sure it's still dark, but just the tiniest little coat of this lighter fluff on top, just to make it look like, again, a little bit of snow on there. And that's the little hat that sits on top. That looks good to me. Now the nose is quite easy to do. All we're going to do for the nose is zoom in on the nose itself, tap on the layer and alpha lock it. We're going to go to our colours. We're going to grab this darker tone here. It is the second colour from the top right. We're going to make the brush size really small, around about sort of 2 to 1%, if not slightly smaller, 1% will do. And we're going to go ahead and draw in a line. Then switch your colour out to the lighter colour, top right of the palette, and then just chop into that, creating a nice sharp edge on one side. We then go back to our colours again and grab this colour here, second colour from the top right, draw in another line. These are like grooves in the carrots. Then go back to your colour, grab the other orange top right of the palette, and again just chop into that, creating a nice sharp edge on it. And then all you want to do is go to your colours and grab the darker tone once more. Darken up the underside of the carrot like so. Make sure it's a little bit darker towards the bottom. Then go to your colours again and grab the brighter orange. And the underside, just brighten that up like so. That should then give you a nice 3D looking nose. Just a little something going on there. Next, let's go ahead and do the arms. Now the arms, we're going to go ahead and create a new layer above them. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right to the top arm, create a new layer. We're going to go to our colours. We're just going to go straight to the snow, which is this one here. Let's actually use the one in the top left of the palette. Make the brush size nice and small, about 1%, and just on top of the arms, we're just going to run this nice charcoal brush up and down the arm, and then along the fingers, along the top edge of each one, just adding in a little bit of snow. You don't have to add in a ton, just enough that there's a little bit of something there on top. And then we've got the other arm on the opposite side as well. Reduce the brush size maybe a little bit smaller because it's a little bit further away. Let's add in some snow along there, along the finger, a little bit on there. And if you leave a nice light patch, it almost looks like frost rather than snow. So you can just get a little bit of an impression that there's some snow on there. That's looking good. We've now done our snowman. We can now do the ground underneath and add in some shadows for both areas. So what we can do is we can go to our layers. We're going to go down to this white gradient layer here that sits at the bottom. Create a new layer in front of it. Go to our colours. We're going to go ahead and grab the third colour on the top row. Using the same brush, we're going to make our brush size around about sort of 9%. And we're going to move a shadow from the base of the snowman off towards the left-hand edge. So just pushing that shadow, getting very light as I let go every time over towards that left-hand edge, and just pushing that away from our snowman, like so. Now give a nice little shadow underneath. We can also go back to our colours and grab the darker purple. And then just where it gets really close to the ground, the actual snowball here, we can just go ahead and just darken that up and push that out just a little bit from here. It's like a two-stage shadow almost. So a little bit more like so. What we can then also do is if we go back to our layers, the layer underneath the white gradient layer, we're going to grab our colours and we're going to grab the white, so the middle colour in that first column. Let's make our brush size a little bit bigger, around about sort of 20%, and just start to push that gradient a little bit higher, but using a little bit of the charcoal. So what we're kind of doing now is just extending the ground and pushing it a little bit further back. But the charcoal gives a really nice effect, almost like it is, of course, snow, nice and fluffy. So we're pushing that ground a little bit higher and a little bit further back. And that is for the option now of adding in a shadow behind the stone. So we're going to go to our layers. We're going to go back up to that layer that we just made for the shadow for the snowman. And go back to our colours and grab the third colour on that top row. Reduce the brush size down to about sort of 5%. And we just kind of just need to draw in a little line here, just to give the impression that there's a bit of a shadow. So again, just push it out towards the left-hand side and let it get really gradual as it gets close to the edge of the canvas. Then grab your colours and grab the darker purple and just try to implement a little bit of it here, just right behind the stone. And again, just push it off to the left-hand side. That'll just give your stone a nice little shadow as well. Now what we can also do is just lightly just paint in this purple just a little bit further down, and that will just ever so slightly just give the snow that you put in front a little bit of a shadow underneath it. And then you've got a nice little shadow there underneath that snow. Next, let's go ahead and add in some snow that is coming down from the sky above. So we're going to go up to our layers. We're going to go right to the very top and we're going to create a new layer. We're then going to go to our colours. We're going to grab the second colour on that top row. We're going to go to our brush library and we're going to go to elements and the driven snow brush. Now the opacity is currently set to 83% and the size is 55%. And we're going to go ahead and from the right, just push down in lines, just giving some snow and some direction to it by making it go down the screen. And this snow and the colour is going to look great because it will be visible down below and also visible above. And then the only other effect I'm going to do is go to my layers. I'm going to go down to the white that's at the very bottom. I'm going to create a new layer above it. And then going back to our brush and the charcoal, which we had before, the willow charcoal. I'm going to make our brush size around about sort of 25 to 6% and just go around the very bottom right edge, just introducing a little bit of this colour. And likewise the very bottom left corner as well. And then meet in the middle. And this will just add in a little bit of blue. It'll also nicely round off the corners. And it'll also add in a little bit more texture. So just the tiniest bit in the very bottom left and right edges to give your little design a nice little extra little feature. And then if we go ahead and pinch with 2 fingers, we go full screen with 4, we end up with today's finished design. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. As always, be sure to share your designs with me over on Instagram. There's a link in the description down below to all my socials. And be sure to go ahead and take part in part 1 of this design, which was from last year. Now, if you're new here, I post weekly tutorials here on my YouTube channel for Procreate, but I also post 3 more exclusive tutorials every single month over on my Patreon. There's a link in the description down below and also a link to all of the designs that you can unlock when you become a patron. You can have your name featured in videos, sneak peeks of designs, early access to tutorials, and much, much more. So hit the link in the description down below. And today's equipment list, as always, is the wonderful Sketchboard Pro. There's a link in the description down below, as well as a discount code for 10% off. I'm using the Doudrot glove, the Up Grip, and the Paperlike screen cover. Everything will be linked in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful Christmas, and I'll see you in the next one.